When I was asked to present this topic, I gave other topics to be considered. None of those topics were chosen by the directors. I was told that this topic is in high demand because entrepreneurs are lost and they feel overwhelmed in this season of various pandemics. They feel disconnected, sometimes even disoriented. And also, more than 82% of small businesses are solopreneurs. And that just means that e commerce is one more hat that an entrepreneur has to wear, or just one more item on their to do list, or one more thing that seems just unattainable as an entrepreneur. So, I want to leave you with some hope before we get started with our content. My hope is that this too shall pass. These pandemics will pass, the stress will pass, the isolation and the quarantine will pass. And after all those things pass, we don't want your business to also be a thing of the past. So take a moment just to be. Before we get started, just breathe, close your eyes. Don't fast forward this portion of the presentation. Just relax. And we're going to take a moment to do that. That's one of the things that I've gained during this time of COVID-19 is just taking these mindful minutes. And it's really been a blessing for me in my life, my personal life, and my professional life. But we deserve it. We deserve those moments to just sit back, breathe, and just unwind and kind of figure things out. So now let's get to e-commerce. COVID-19 forced small businesses all around the world to consider e-commerce. It was like, ready or not, here you come. And for those who weren't ready, we made a ton of mistakes, right? And for those who pivoted successfully, they still learned a lot along the way. So, regardless of which category you find yourself in, so regardless if you're preparing to start e-commerce, recovering from some costly mistakes, or mitigating the fallout from starting wrong, this workshop will at least give you some ideas on moving forward or not. And I say or not because the reality is that e-commerce is not for everyone. So let's take a look at some numbers. In 2019, the United States of America had 271 million online shoppers. That number is expected to reach more than 300 million by 2023. COVID-19 likely caused that prediction to be accelerated a little bit. Online shopping is said to have increased by more than 25% in the last 6 months. Here's a bigger number. Online shopping conducted through smartphones alone accounted for roughly $117 billion in the US in 2019. Sales made directly through smartphones are expected to hit $209 billion by 2022. Now, that's just your smartphone shopping, not to mention the fact that a lot of folks start on their cell phone and then they move to a larger device so that they can have more user-friendly terms when they're making a purchase. Now, here's an even bigger number. This is a huge number. Do you even know what this number is? Um, so this is a 13-figure number with 11 zeros. You know what that means, trillion, right? With a T. So globally, online sales are anticipated to reach $4.2 trillion this year. Now that is up from 3.5 trillion in 2019. Future estimates put the total at more than $6.5 trillion in 2024. This is the only time that I will discuss global numbers, but I do want to point out that if you're only selling in the US, then you're only reaching about 5% of the potential global market. Think about that for a minute. 5% of the US global market. Now, back to the US market. A 2019 poll by Marist College and the National Public Radio shows that 76% of all United States adults shop online. The frequency of online shopping stats show that 25% of them shop at least once a month, and 16% of them shop online at least once a week. Now, younger consumers make more shopping attempts than adults do. They shop at least 80%. 80% of the younger consumers shop online. What the experts are saying is that Americans are doing a lot of impulse shopping during this COVID-19 times, and a lot of that is happening in the middle of the night. So that's another thing to consider when we have, restricted times on our stores, restricted occupancy rates, right? When folks want something, especially when they're impulse shoppers, they're going to either go to you or your competition. So that's something to be mindful of. Okay, this is the last number that we'll discuss before we get into the content. So can you guess what this represents? $19.94 was the first time someone purchased anything online. You remember the dial-up modem. You remember, having to wait quite a few moments before you were able to even get online on the World Wide Web. I remember 1994. Definitely, that was the year I actually graduated high school. But the first thing that was purchased online was in 1994. Can you guess what that was? It was a CD. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a compact disc. That's the way that we used to listen to music after a cassette tape. So mind you, in 1994, that was 1 year before Amazon started, and it was over 25 years ago. So I'm done with the history lesson, and I just wanted to say that selling online actually does pay off. All those big numbers prove that it pays to sell online. And let's face it, we have no idea when stores will be able to be at maximum capacity again or regular store hours. So online selling might pay off for you. Think about it. If you got only 1% of those online sales or even 2% of those online buyers to be repeat customers, that can make a significant difference in your revenues. Hence the purpose of this workshop. Let's pause for a minute to say that this is a short presentation. It will not be all-encompassing. You will not walk away with all the answers, but you will walk away with some direction and some support if you choose to reach out. During this workshop, we will discuss what those 300 million consumers are shopping for online, which search engines they are using to find those items, and which platforms are available to you and your business. We'll also talk about some potential benefits and sales strategies for your business. And then we'll talk about getting you some help on your e-commerce activities, on getting them started or mitigated properly. Any questions on that thus far? You can absolutely type in the chat box and we will be monitoring it for any questions that you all have. I'll give you a moment to do that. And if you don't have any questions, just type in the chat box. This is amazing information already. Just those statistics were amazing, right? But I'm just going to give you a moment to do so if you would like to. Okay, now that you know about the workshop, let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been in your shoes, maybe even worse off than you. I was forced into e-commerce by a high demand for my service as a solopreneur, and I had no clue what I was doing. I fumbled along, I made a ton of mistakes, and I also learned a lot. I've survived quite a few disasters and pandemics. I've been a reservist with FEMA as a private sector specialist since 2011, and I love solving my clients' problems. I'm a certified business advisor with the Washington Small Business Development Center, and my clients are small business owners who are seeking to start, grow, and or sell their businesses. So I'm constantly learning new things to share. And lastly, I'm an educator. So I love learning and sharing my knowledge with others. And if you like geeking out about data or statistics and economics, and you want to want me to share the resources that I use to create this presentation, please let me know and I can send you all the links. Okay. So my email address is jennafinesse.tucker@wsu.edu. And some folks ask me, how do you pronounce your name? It's Jenna Finesse. And the other folks ask me, can I call you Jennifer or Jen? And the answer is no. Okay. So it's Jenna Finesse. Just want to make sure that you all are mindful so that if you have to address me or talk about me or ask me a question later on, you know that it is Jenna Finesse. Okay. All right. So
for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world on HBO pay-per-view. Ladies and gentlemen, from Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas, let's get ready to rumble!
y'all ready? Let's go. All right. So take a moment to type in the chat box and answer these two questions. Number one, do you shop online? And number two, which platform do you start with when you're shopping online? So I'll give you guys a moment to do that. Do you shop online and which platform do you start with? Remember from the slide previous, it told us that 76% of adults in the US shop online. So most of us are in that 76%, but there might be some of us that just refuse to do so. And I just want to see who we have that's in that demographic. Okay, so one of the sources that I used was the Marist College report. They did a report with NPR to find out all kinds of data when it comes to U.S. consumers and shopping online. So of that source, although Google is the number one search engine in the U.S., more online shoppers turn to Amazon than Google. When looking to purchase an item online, 44% of online shoppers start their search with Amazon. Another 33% of shoppers start with Google. And then about 10% of shoppers start at a specific online store like Target or Walmart or whatever. And then 6% search on brand sites like Maytag if they're looking for a specific washer and dryer, or Samsung or whatnot. And then the other 5 point something percent, they go to online marketplaces like eBay and Etsy. Okay. So this is that report. So if you look at this, you probably will find yourself somewhere on this chart. Okay. So for those of you that said, yes, I shop online, and you will probably see, oh yeah, I just go straight to the brand site, or if I'm looking for a specific item, I might go to an online marketplace. But either way, this is what the experts say that most consumers are doing when they're looking to start looking for items, searching for items online. Not necessarily purchasing them, but searching for them. So here's another one that I want you guys to look at. When consumers go to Amazon, there are lots of trends showing the items that search most often. Now, this is data on the top 100 items searched for on Amazon. As you can see, 51 of those top 100 items were in the electronics category. So they fall mostly there, with the top one being Nintendo Switch. And then there's laptops, headphones, and other electronics. In this category of the top 100, 22 were in housewares. So the air fryer was really high up on the list. That's why you have that picture of the air fryer in the 22 home category. And then the miscellaneous items were things like gift cards and other little gifts. And most of them were like Amazon gift cards and others like other specific gift cards. How much you want to bet that mask and other PPP will be high up on the list when it's calculated once again at the end of 2020? I would guess. I would bet you guys. I mean, I'm not a really gambler, but I know that people are searching for PPP, whether it's mask or sanitizer or whatever it is that's helping us to stay safe and stay healthy during this COVID-19 times. So this is the current list, the top 100 searches. And believe it or not, last year when I did a similar presentation, the top 100 items didn't shift that much. Electronics were always high up there in numbers. And actually, the Nintendo Switch was number one last year, too. So, although a lot of these numbers may change periodically, some of them pretty much stay the same. Okay. So, now that was Amazon top searches. This is what consumers are typically purchasing online. Of the items on this chart, please type in the chat box how many of these items you've actually purchased online. We have a total of 7 items here. Nope, we have a total of 8 items here. How many of these items have you purchased online in the last year or so, especially during COVID-19, probably? So just to go over some of these numbers, 58% of US adults have purchased clothes or shoes online. I'm definitely in that number. Electronics are the second most popular type of product to purchase online, with 48% of all US adults having purchased a TV, a computer, a speaker, or headphones online. Then there's vitamins, pet supplies, and these other items. Is there anything that should be included on this chart? Anything you think was left off? If so, type that in the chat box as well. I'm interested to see what you guys think should be on a list of the top 8 items that people are purchasing online. Who would have thought that we would be purchasing groceries online? I remember when I first moved here to Washington, and I didn't have a vehicle, and the grocery store was far away, so I could either take, and I did oftentimes take a Uber or Lyft. But then I saw shipped online. I was like, oh my goodness, I can go online and order groceries and they will deliver them to me. Oh yeah, I am so down for that, right? So I was ordering shipped. I was also ordering like this box subscription, a couple of them actually. So groceries online, that is such a new thing for a lot of people. But that's something that, technology has forced us to do. Not necessarily forced us as a bad thing, but forced us a good thing. But I also feel like it's making us lazy. So I know what you think about it, but you type that in the chat box. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So let's talk about this. Is anyone willing to admit that they've been resistant to get on e-commerce? Anybody in the chat box want to admit, you know what, I am not going to be that person for whatever reason. I just don't feel like being online is good for my business, or has not been good for my business before now. While you guys take a moment to do that, I'll give you an example of one of my clients. So I have one of my clients is a restaurant in Tacoma. They're in the Hilltop area. They've been there for over 14 years. They had quite a few reviews online that said, you know what, this restaurant, they take too long, that you can't order online, you can't order in advance. You actually have to go into the restaurant and place the order if you want to take it to go. They had no real mechanism in place to help their clients outside of physically coming into the restaurant. So what happened is COVID-19 happened. So as soon as Governor Inslee said, hey, stay home, stay healthy, that presented a huge problem for them. Because at this point, They did not take phone orders. You had to go in line. They did not have any type of online presence. Like they didn't even claim their social media sites or even their Google sites at that point. So they had no real online presence. They were on Yelp because they have some amazing products, right? So with them, COVID-19 forced them into e-commerce. The first thing they was able to do is to get on Uber Eats, which was amazing because it really accelerated their business. They were able to get orders through Uber Eats, and we'll talk about this a little later as far as, these affiliate programs. But they went on Uber Eats, they were able to get orders through there. People were able to order in advance. They actually claimed their social media, and it's one of the most robust social medias I've ever seen in a very long time. People were just acting like they were waiting for them to get on social media. Everything they post out there right now, it just gets like tons of likes, tons of shares. People were all over the world asking them to buy gift certificates. That's something they was not doing. They implemented that, and they also had implemented a website for online ordering. So COVID-19 kind of pushed them into e-commerce, but it really blessed them in such a way that their business is actually flourishing because of being online. Now they've decided they're not going to open up their restaurant. They're just going to continue through at least the end of 2020. They're going to continue to do to-go orders and delivery through Uber Eats. But their sales have really skyrocketed as a result of them being mobile and being online and doing e-commerce. So there's a ton of benefits to developing or enhancing your e-commerce. Economists say online shopping has increased by over 25% during the last 6 months. So many of us are just at home, quarantine, right? And so we're like doing all this shopping, and some of it just mindless shopping. I remember, I'll just tell on myself for a moment, but I remember placing orders for all kinds of stuff. And then one day I looked up, I said, I had ordered a hammock. I was like, man, I never got that hammock. And so I went through and I looked at my PayPal, and I just discovered it was more than $800 worth of stuff that I ordered and never received. And so I was able to go through and actually do a dispute because I never received the items. I started ordering back in March when we first started, quarantine. That was almost like my happy place, just ordering a whole bunch of stuff online. And I know there are tons of people just like me because I saw posts on Facebook like, yeah, I got that in every color. But my point is, these are just a few of the benefits of pivoting right now and doing a e-commerce or online site. Some customers may not be in close proximity to you. So being online can increase your sales and your revenues to customers you wouldn't normally be attractive to. So most folks will not drive from Tukwila, Washington to Tacoma, Washington to shop, right? They stay in their own little bubbles. And especially now with COVID, right? We're all trying to be super conscious of what we do, where we go, and how much time we spend out in public. So being online can help with that. With e-commerce, you can attract those folks from Tukwila or Tacoma, and possibly even my cousins all the way in Columbus, Ohio, or even somebody in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, or Istanbul, Turkey, right? So the possibilities and the reach become limitless when you have an online presence. After your customer knows and trusts you, they will want to buy additional products from you. So people may buy in the middle of the night when your retail business is closed, and you do not want to make an impulse shopper wait because you will lose the sale and possibly even the customer, right? So that's another thing, that customer retention. Then finally, eliminating or decreasing your overhead costs and transferring the shipping costs to the customers improves your profit margins. So going back to my client in Tacoma, because she's not operating the inside of the restaurant, her expenses have gone down tremendously. She does not have to hire someone as a wait staff. She doesn't have to hire someone to wash dishes. All of those things she's able to decrease those expenses, which increases her profit margins. So those are just a few reasons to consider going online. Next, let's talk about how to get online. So many of you are asking the question, but how? I know everything you saying sounds so good, but how to do I actually get online? I get clients that come to me all the time. They're like, wait, I've already paid this much money for a website. Are you telling me I have to build a whole nother website? And the answer is no. If you already have a fully functional website, that's great. You don't need to build another one. What you do need is a shopping cart. So you can do a shopping cart, a standalone shopping cart, or you can do a website with a store feature, right? So we're just going to cover a couple ways to get online. So the first way you can get online is by adding the shopping cart feature. Every online site needs a built-in shopping cart platform to collect payment, whether it's an independent site or integrated in your website and your web hosting plan. And there are tons of them. You will have to decide which one is right for you. So if you look at this particular presentation slide, you'll see that I don't know how many is on here, but this is a lot. And this is not even all of them. There are hundreds. But these are some of the ones that make sense for certain types of businesses. We have done some research and we can provide you with a few resources to help you decide based on your industry and based on what industry experts say is good for your particular industry. So let's look at these. These are the top 5 websites with e-commerce software. So these are like those plug and play websites that's super easy for you to develop if you don't already have one. And there's hundreds of these as well. But these are rated the highest and easiest and most user-friendly ones. So it allows you to create, manage an online store. You'll use this software to manage your products, your site, your operations, and everything related to your online sales. So these are the BigCommerce, Wix, Volusion, 3D Cart, and WooCommerce. You can also use third-party payment vendors like PayPal, Square, Cash App, or even some of these social media stores. I was online the other day and it says I was inboxing somebody on Facebook Messenger and it asked me, did I want to pay them? I'm like, pay them? What? So even, the social media allows you to pay people or someone to pay you. But that's not covered in this workshop. I just wanted to mention those things, okay? So another way is affiliate marketing. So you can consider affiliate for your e-commerce. Here's another option. So someone else can get you online. You don't have to be the person or the business that gets your business online. So just like I mentioned my client in Tacoma, they were able to get online first and quickly by signing a contract with Uber Eats. There's also places like Groupon, right? So if you can allow Groupon to put you online and people can see your business from all around. It gives you that access. It actually is a great way to market. Even if you don't get sales that way, it actually helps you rank higher on Google. And then there's places like Airbnb. Say you're a realtor or investment real estate person. You can get on Airbnb, you can advertise there, and you can also sell there. And even Netflix. I don't know what, depending upon your business, you can use these affiliates for your e-commerce. Now, it may make sense to look at opportunities where you can use someone else to market for you or do all of that the sales and everything else. But I want to pause for a minute and say that this is an expensive way to get online. Most of them charge high fees, right? So can you think of any affiliates that you can collaborate with right now in your business? We all know that Uber Eats wouldn't make sense if you're a t-shirt business or if you're a barber, right? But there may be some affiliates that can assist you with getting online. I just want to repeat this one more time because it's worth saying. Please know that affiliate marketing, they get a share or percentage of your sales. And most times that is very high. So they want you to pay them for getting you online, okay? So this is a great time for us to take a quick pause and just see if you guys have any questions before we continue, okay? So this is a great opportunity for you guys to chat in the chat box. Any questions that you have about platforms, affiliate marketing, what people are buying online. And oftentimes I get the question of, but I have a service. How do I sell that online? Or how do I make sure I'm visible to folks outside of my normal community? And so that's a great question. And so these avenues, these strategies, they work for service-based businesses just as much as they work for product-based businesses. Okay. So we are definitely able to help you to create your strategy and just look at your business differently, to be able to make sure that you are pivoting or ready for e-commerce. Okay. So again, type your questions in the chat box if you have any. If you don't have any, say, let's go. Let's keep going. Okay. Let me know that you're ready. Say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Type that in the chat box. All right. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Let's keep it moving. So here's what we are going to talk about: being ready. While you're thinking about it, remember, I mentioned that e-commerce may not be right for everybody. And that's just the reality, right? Well, it's up to you as the entrepreneur, your business, right? Your brand, your time, your money, your resources to determine if you are ready. And it's up to you to decide. So, is everyone ready to get online and start their e-commerce site? I don't know. If you are, or even if you're not, if you're still considering it, I think that these are some good tips to get you ready in your current business. So one of the things you want to do is you want to be discoverable. So you want to make sure that all of your online presence has the same information. You will not believe how many clients I talk to, and we'll go and look up something. We'll look at their Google listing, or we'll look up them on Yelp or other places, and I'm like, is this number? What is this number? Oh, that was a number I had when I first got started. You know what? That needs to be consistent, because folks are trying to reach you on that number or that email. So be very sure that you are discoverable and everything that you put online is consistent. Okay. Build your online brand, whether that's through social media, whether that's through a fully engaged website, whatever that looks like, build that up so that folks know who they can find when they're looking for you or your product. Build your marketing plan, or revise your marketing plan. Do know that being online is almost like having a separate business. So you may want to have a marketing plan specific to your e-commerce in addition to the rest of your business, right? Use consumer insights. This is going to be super duper important because things are changing so rapidly, right? And so when we're reading reports that tells us that more folks are going online, or we're reading reports that people want, online or in-person, face-to-face interaction, use those consumer insights to make sure that you are staying on top of your game, you're staying abreast of the changes, because things are changing so rapidly. Okay. And then another thing, monitor so frequently. Definitely monitor those reviews. I was speaking with a client and we looked at their Google, and they had like 3 negative reviews, and it brought their rating down. And she wasn't even aware. And the awesome part about those Google reviews or any type of reviews online, you can always say, give a response. Make sure your response is professional. Make sure that it is concise. Apologize if you need to, offer some additional services, do whatever you have to do, but make sure that you are responding to reviews, because everybody is watching that nowadays. That is really the way that folks shop. They look at, what do other people think, before they even think about even giving you business. So make sure you're doing that. Help your customers in new ways. This is a great time to just really be a help to someone else, especially during COVID-19 and this time of social distancing and quarantine. People are going to spend money with folks that they like. Maybe it's local that they like about you. Maybe it's because you're a social enterprise and you're giving back to the community. Whatever that is, make sure that you are consistent, but also authentic. Don't be something that you are not. Be authentic in whatever it is that you're doing, so that your customer knows who you are from day to day or month to month. Okay. And prepare for what's next. We don't know what's next. And that is like sometimes the most scariest thing. But the thing about it is, we do know that there have been other pandemics that we can learn from, right? We had the crash in 2008. We've had all kinds of things that we can learn from past pandemics, past things like this particular pandemic, maybe not as in depth, But my point is prepare, prepare, prepare. Okay. And so those are some of the tips that I wanted to share as far as getting online. And I do want to say this: be mindful that if you build it, they will not just come. That is a myth, okay? Especially when it comes to e commerce. I always laugh lovingly when my clients say things like, I have a website, but no one's buying anything. Or 200 people placed items in their shopping cart, but they never made a purchase. So when I hear things like that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to educate you on the fact that website conversion rates vary. They vary depend on your industry. They vary depending on your business model. E-commerce conversion rates are low. They're typically between 1.84% and 3.71%. So on this particular slide, it gives you the conversion rate of 5%. That's really actually super high. Okay. So that just means you have to get a ton of visitors to actually come to your site to increase your sales. So if we look at this particular sales funnel, look at the fact that there are about 1,000 visitors to the site. Those are the total visitors. 100% of the visitors are 1,000, right? The people who actually go to the shopping area are about 70%. And then 35% of them actually place something in a shopping cart. And think about it from your own perspective, right? Sometimes you may go to a website. I know for a fact, I'm just telling on myself now. I don't know about you guys, but I can tell on me all day long. I know for a fact I will click on things that pop up on my social media. And I'm just curious about how much is that? That sounds like an amazing item, but what is it really worth my money? And I click on it and it says, immediately it tells me that it's like outside of my budget, which is, maybe $1 because I'm really frugal with my money. But my point is, however much it is, I might say, oh, no, I ain't buying that. So I just click right off, go back to social media. So there may be people like me. There has to be something that keeps them on your website and gets them to actually make that purchase. And I can't go into, abandoned shopping cart on this particular presentation, but there's all kinds of tactics that you can use to get folks to not abandon their shopping cart and actually make that purchase. So if clients aren't completing their purchase, or in other words, converting, then that's a conversion problem. And you have to find out why they aren't purchasing. And sometimes that can be as easy as just asking them. Some surveys show that these are the top reasons why consumers aren't converting. Most consumers have come to expect free shipping, regardless of where the item is coming from. They also may not be ready to make the purchase right away. For example, I was online today and I couldn't remember my CVV code. But the way that my online presence is set up, I can just put in a credit card, the beginning of the credit card number, and it pops up and it just wants the CVV code for security purposes. And I couldn't remember it. It was in a different room. And so I just clicked off, and I'm going to go back later on after I get finished recording this and go back and make that purchase. And that could be the same for your customers. So they just can't, some of them just may not be ready right then and there. So if you look at this, it says 44% do not convert because of high shipping costs. 41%, they're not ready to purchase right then and there. 25% say that the high product price. 24% wanted to save products for later consideration. So perhaps they forgot their CVV code. Perhaps they're just shopping around for a later date. You just don't know. So you can't assume that because folks have not made a purchase, it's because of one reason or another. But you can ask. And there's all kinds of tactics and strategies around that. Just remember that building an e-commerce doesn't always equate to increased sales. That's a reality. If you build it, they don't just come. You have to do things to draw them and to keep them and actually get them to make that purchase. So this is not to discourage you. It's just to educate you. Okay. So hopefully no one is getting discouraged like, man, this is like another job. It is like having another business. It's a lot of things that are involved in having an e-commerce site. So I don't want you to walk away and say, oh, it's easy, I'm going to go online tomorrow. No, I want you to have a strategy so it could be successful. Okay. So let's talk about some of those strategies. Once you get online, the work doesn't stop. You have to maintain your e-commerce platform, and it can be like running another business. The best strategies involve marketing, selling, and fulfillment. So let's just look at a few of these strategies. Focus on customer service. People are so big on customer service. And when I say people, I mean me too. Okay. So if I get a horrible customer service experience, I will cancel an order real quick. Okay. So I expect my money to go a long ways, and I expect to be appreciated as a customer. And I think there are a lot of people like me. Use automation as much as possible, whether that's an automated email that goes out as soon as somebody gets on your website. This is why when you go on certain websites, there's a quick pop-up that says save 10% by giving us your email, because they know that it's very likely that you are not going to convert. So at least if they get that email, they have another opportunity to get you to convert. And you should have something just like that. Okay. Respond to inquiries. Keep inventory up to date. Ship goods in a timely manner. Have some type of automated fulfillment if you can, right? Don't let it be solely dependent on you. You could be sick one day, right? You could catch the coronavirus. Heaven forbid any of us catch the coronavirus, but you could. And if you're running a solopreneur, as a solopreneur, solo business, then that person can wait up to a week or 2 weeks to get their products or services. And that sometimes can cause return or exchange or cancellation. And so you want to be mindful of that. Offer as many free services as you can. Just fill your products with so much value that folks feel like, oh my goodness, I must get this from this particular company. And then ask for reviews and testimonies, because everybody's looking for that in 2020. Nobody's really making purchases without checking for reviews and testimonies. Okay. So those are just a few strategies. I want you guys to take a look at this for a moment and let me know which of these strategies makes the most sense for your business right now. Whether you decide to start an e-commerce site, whether you've already started an e-commerce site, which one of these strategies says, you know what, I really need to pay more attention to that. Type that in the chat box. I want to hear from you guys. While you are doing that, I'm going to move right along. So, I know when you look at this slide, it might give you a headache, because sometimes it gives me a headache. But I will say there are a lot of things, a whole lot of things to consider when getting online. By no means have I covered everything, but these are just some of the basics. You will need to know a little more about search engine optimization, keywords, participant algorithms, optimization, and just so much more when you get online. But I just want to put that out there so that you guys don't walk away from this presentation and be like, yes, I'm ready. And somebody says, well, what about your search engine optimization? You'd be like, no, that was not covered. We don't have time to cover it on this particular presentation, but I do want you to be mindful of that. And these are just some of the questions that you can ask about at a later time. Okay. So another thing that I want to cover is international sales. I must include a little bit of information about this, because who's interested in doing business in other countries? If you're interested in doing business in other countries, just type in the chat box which country you're interested in. And it doesn't matter if it's Mexico or Canada, that's another country. But it could be other countries, depending upon your industry, what you sell, what services you have. If you're interested in another country, just type that in the chat box. Now, here's the reality. I have clients who accidentally make international sales, and also others who want to get started in a specific market or a specific country. Either way, it requires a strategy. And this too can be like running a whole nother business or a separate business. Please understand that these things are done differently in different countries. So I remember I was in China, and everywhere I went, a lot of folks didn't accept credit cards or cash, and they wanted to know if I had Alibaba. So it was sort of like our Cash App or our Square. And at first I was like, I didn't know what they were saying when they were asking, do you have Alibaba? And I was like, what? What? And I would pull out my credit card, like, here, take it, swipe it, do whatever. But you got to know that in some countries, they have different currency. They have different ways that they like things to be done. So if you're not familiar, you could end up losing resources, whether that's money, time, or whatever. One of the things that I was shocked about when I went over to China was that a lot of the websites that we would frequent were banned. And so I couldn't Google anything. I couldn't go to LinkedIn. I couldn't go to Facebook. I was really shocked about that. And so we have to be mindful that when we're thinking about international sales, depending upon the country, you got to be mindful of what they're doing over there. You got to make purposeful international sales with your e-commerce site so that you know who your end user is. You got to do the research. And so the top of this list is research, research, research. It'd be good to understand what the demand is, who's the competition, right? What platforms they're using, the packaging and the labeling. I have another client, she has a natural hair care line and she started selling in another country. And one of the things she had to do is she had to change her labels. She had to change the labels and the packaging because that was the criteria for that particular country. Now, mind you, she had spent a ton of money on her marketing materials and her labels and everything before she got that contract and that PO from the other country. And she had to go through and change everything. And that's something that you need to be mindful of. You have to be mindful of import regulations, tariffs, intellectual property protection. Some countries are not like the US, right? We have a lot of different protections in place. So, those are just a few things that I want you guys to be mindful of and always, always, always thinking of. Okay. So, as a recap, so far we covered the top items consumers are shopping for online, which search engines they are using to make those purchases, which platforms are being used for shopping carts, the conversion funnel, and sales strategies for your businesses. Any questions on any of that thus far? You can go ahead and type in the chat box if you have any questions thus far. Give you a moment to do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to cue my music. I like music. I don't know about you guys, but I love music. I love music. So, anyways, I see there are probably some questions in the chat box. And if you're not asking this question, you should be, okay? You guys should have asked, how can I do this? Where can I get some help, right? How can I get some help with this? Because it's overwhelming and stressful. And I'm already running a business and I don't want to run two businesses and blah, 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 blah. No, I get it. I totally get it. And so because I get it, I'm going to offer you some help. Okay. So remember, I said at the beginning, I'm going to show you all these things and I'm going to tell you how to get help. So your Washington Small Business Development Center is a no-cost, one-on-one advising that is for every entrepreneur in the state of Washington. Here's the locations that we have. We have over 20 locations. We have over 25 certified business advisors that are willing to help you in your endeavors. Okay? Most of the business advisors with the Washington Small Business Development Center, we've either owned businesses, we have advanced degrees, we have prior counseling and consulting experience, and we go through a certification process, right? So we are certified business advisors that are here on site at the different locations to help, okay? Most of us are working virtually right now. We are working from our homes. We've been doing it since March, and we will continue to do it. We don't even know when we're going back into the office, but it provides us with a level of capacity where we can help more folks, okay? So here's some of the things that we advise on. We have export advisors, so we have some international trade advisors. If you're interested in going into a different market or a different country, we have advisors that can help you with that. We help with cost-cutting strategies, cash flow analysis, financial analysis, ways that we can help you with marketing strategies, getting and keeping your customers. We can help with market intelligence, you identifying what's going on in your particular industry. We can help with e-commerce, right? Hence the topic at hand. And we can just help you in any of those ways. Just so you know, in 2020 alone, and this is just going up until this month, we've helped more than 3,000 clients in the state of Washington. We helped them gain access to more than $114 million in capital infusion. We helped them create more than 600 jobs and start more than 100 businesses. And so this is what we do. This is what we love to do. This is what we are paid to do. And you don't have to pay for our services. You can schedule a one-on-one technical assistance with myself or anybody in my network. So you can do that at www.wsbdc.org. And if you'd like some information from me or some assistance from me, you can just simply email me, excuse me, at jennifer.tucker@wsu.edu. Okay, so we are going to take questions in the chat box right now. We have a few moments where we can continue to chat. So let's chat it up.